Zoom and YouTube are being, got it. Zoom and YouTube are being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after this meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Public Art Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak to the PAC may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. YouTube is a viewing only format. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. Amen. Okay, approval of minutes. Did people get to see, and is there any discussion?
No, I have no comments.
No, not I.
No comments.
I have a comment on the September 7th minutes, I believe.
Yes.
It's down in 5 under the regular agenda, section C, when we were discussing in-school outreach to schools, and it says Jeff suggested there's a lot of questions and asked that it be agendized early in the agenda next meeting. I remember I was referring to actually the commissioned art locations for that one and getting that agendized earlier in the next meeting.
Okay, so noted. Thank you.
Mhm.
And maybe it can be corrected on whoever has those on in their hand.
Yes, I will take care of that correction.
Thank you, Carrie. Do I have a proposal to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I so move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? They are approved. Comments from the public regarding items not on the agenda. Statements of conflict of interest. Regular agenda. A high school art display at Ives Park. Carrie will introduce this. According to her, it would be about
Yes.
15 minutes for this. Thank you.
Yes, and so this is, and we may want to discuss at some point how to deal with requests from the public that come in as we do. I know the city wants to encourage public art that is sponsored by private individuals. If they're sponsored on private land, they don't need any review from the Public Art Committee. However, if they're on public space, the process is for it to come to the Public Art Committee to get a thumbs up, thumbs down, and in this case, some sort of recommendation. And in this case, as well as some of the others, like the Black Lives Matter, to see if there is a member of the Public Art Committee that might be interested in assisting or providing guidance to the person sponsoring or the organization. If it's a like today's item, which is a high school student who's wanting to do this. So with that, let me bring up the slideshow. What this this proposal is. Sorry, it's not my name. There we go. Is a temporary art installation by one of the high school students at Allen High, Hazel Fugelson, who is also a volunteer at the library. And what she would like to do is do a temporary art installation that is the interior fence in Ives Park. And the concept is for it to be compelled to say our names is recognizing police brutality and the Black Lives Matter movement, honoring the lives of people who have lost their lives to police brutality that is vastful. The context is that the interior fence would be fairly highly visible and a good, it's a place that I know the Public Art Committee and our Planning Commission has talked about as a fence that can use some beautification in one area. So potential options are the fence on the west side, the east side, the west side, or the south side, which is along Willow Street. This is she's got a couple of examples of where this has happened in other locations. And she is looking at it being sustainable. And there's no cost to this being requested from the Public Art Committee, simply the recommendation to do the installation. Again, this would be something that she would be coordinating with participants from the community. And again, be displaying these for a set amount of time, and then it would be over. So that is the gist of it. So these stay up for as long as city allows. I think we would definitely want to make sure that it is doesn't become too deteriorated to the point where it looks very sad. I don't think that would benefit either folks who are wanting to do this or the city's image in terms of wanting art to be maintained in good condition. And so I will stop at that. I did, these are basically a lot of the questions that I had asked, what's the time frame? Where would it be? Those types of questions that I knew you would all be interested in. I'm happy to send out this slideshow. And if I can answer any questions, I'm happy to do so at this time. If I can't, I can get them along to the high school student. She is unfortunately in class on Wednesday morning, so unable to attend today.
I have a question about if the high school or high school student has an expectation on a timeline in terms of, because I see this taking some time in the agenda to discuss, and this is something that can be discussed at the November meeting, for example.
Good.
Is one of the things Carrie mentioned was, is there a member of the committee interested in becoming involved in this, and perhaps that could be an interim activity?
Yes, and that is always the case with anything that you're reviewing, that if there are folks who are interested in working with the applicants, or in this case, the proposer, similar to how Jen Roots, who's a muralist, had, when she was chair, worked with the Black Lives Matter Plaza mural that was going on to assist them as a kind of liaison from the Public Art Committee. If there is someone interested in working further with this group, that would be a great way of helping to define it and helping them define it to be a successful project.
So is there anyone interested?
Well, I have some more questions before I would approach that. Is that I'm a little confused about the concept. Are these T-shirts to be honoring anybody who's been killed by police anywhere, or is it
Correct?
Okay, not
Correct.
just in Sonoma County, since there aren't hopefully that many. So,
right. Yeah, exactly.
An individual can decide to whom they're going to feature on their own T-shirt, design it, and then it'll be displayed on the fence. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and is there,
And I believe the T-shirts are, would have the name of the person lost, the date of their death, and the intent I think she has is to make sure it has some decoration with the fake flowers.
and is there any part of that committee or anyone at all who's going to review the content before it's hung up?
I think that's something that could be assigned to Hazel, who is the Enley High School student who's trying to coordinate this. It could also be a member of this committee who is interested in taking that on. That would probably be the easiest way. This is kind of being done with library support, so there may be library staff who's also willing to do that. I know they have a lot more, time. They're obviously working closely with her, and I know Matthew sent a letter of support, which you've already received for this project. He did also note that the library board would be reviewing this and likely providing a letter of support as well. So since they are quite engaged, I think, delegating to them or asking them to do that kind of a thing would be helpful, perhaps as well. It depends on the level of control the Public Art Committee feels would be appropriate for this.
One quick thing, I'm sorry about the dog and I'll hurry up and talk. I do not know that Sharpies are non-toxic. I can't even use them anymore. There's a scent that's just really headache producing. So I want to make, that's a lot of Sharpies, right? So I'd want to make sure that that's true or find an alternative.
Barbara, would you be willing to work with this group so that concern and others and to be the PAC liaison?
I don't know, frankly. I think it's a great idea, and I do the library exhibits, and I love the library. I'm going to be. This is going to be a heavy spring for me, so I'm not sure that I can commit to the time, frankly.
Okay.
So can I just ask, so just to clarify, we're being asked just for our sort of verbal support or blessing to do this, or we don't have to approve it or disapprove it per se. It could happen with or without us.
Good question.
So it would be helpful to understand if you feel it's a good idea or not. You could take a formal vote that yes, this seems like a reasonable project for the city to have on city land for a set period of time, or on a temporary basis for display. If you didn't feel it was appropriate at all, then obviously you'd want to know that as well.
And if we don't, but they've come to us for some sort of approval or guidance or something.
Right. So generally the city, when they get a request for public art to be, or some sort of art to be displayed on public land, that does come before the Public Art Committee. It can also, and we can, take your recommendation, whether it's, positive, negative, and neutral, to the city council. We have done that in the past in terms of making sure that the city council is aware and signs off and supports it as well. With the Black Lives Matter, they actually heard a public comment requesting that and directed staff to bring it to the Public Art Committee for assistance. So they kind of, and to make sure the form of it was appropriate, but had already kind of noted that they were in favor of it, that it was a good idea and they wanted it to be vetted out by the Public Art Committee. So this is similar. It has not gone to council yet. It's simply following the process of coming to the Public Art Committee first.
Yeah.
And then would go to council.
Well, I'll just express my quick opinion that I like the mural in the plaza. This is of this, same kind of content. I'm not saying we shouldn't have two things related to that content, but to me, t-shirts hanging on a fence just doesn't feel like a real, it just feels like something that within a few days it'll look not so good, and I'm concerned about that. So I don't know if we want to give our support to, you know, more than one installation that's sort of on a similar content. I think the sort of more abstract version of what's here in the plaza is so powerful. So that's just my feeling about the proposal.
I have a few comments as well. I appreciate what you brought up, Lars. First of all, I appreciate that it's been brought before the Public Arts Committee, and thanks for forwarding that information, Carrie, because I think it is important to kind of honor the role of the PAC in the city and on potential installations of any kind of art on city property. And the fact that we just finished, you know, the first sculpture garden in Ives Park, which is increasing the role of public art in the park, it should be something we should consider. However, I still have a number of questions about it that I don't feel at liberty really ask right now. I feel like, again, it's going to take a lot of time to kind of pour over some of these details. And, you know, I want to be able to give Hannah, we should be able to give Hannah and whoever else is participating constructive feedback so that maybe they could modify it. I agree with Lars' comment about the shirts. And, you know, if we do get an early rain, amongst other kinds of things that might happen, wind, whatever, that could look pretty ragged pretty fast. So I would encourage us, if possible, to respond to them and tell them we're thinking about it. We're going to consider it at our November meeting, and then we will give them our feedback.
Okay, I would agree with what you both said. I would not put it on November because we already have a number of things on November. I would suggest December. And one thought I had in response to Lars is maybe to suggest they might think of something that is more art and less material. But I would suggest December. And we have, that's one more minute on the 15 that we allotted. So do I have a proposal to forward this to hopefully December? If the group feels that November, then we could do that. But as I say, we have many things there.
Well, I'd make a motion to move the high school art installation discussion to the December PAC meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. 1 minute under.
Well done. Good job, Margie.
Let's just breathe for a
Can I
minute.
ask one
Okay.
question? Excuse me, could I ask a question of Lars? I don't know what do you mean about this installation that's already in the plaza? I don't know what that is.
The painting on the plaza surface is Black Lives Matter.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, going on to the next, art stipends, how to present, announce, how to announce, and how to get the money to them. This should be fairly brief too. I'm trying to get us to have the most time here for number C. So the stipends have been, is the money ready to be sent to them?
So these stipends have been approved by City Council. The finance department will need to get information from the artists to be able to distribute money. I think the city requires a W-9 for that. Just as part of government, can't just send out checks to people as part of governmental control. So we have not contacted them yet. I mean, we can certainly, when we announce and contact those folks, let them know. We probably already have for the Sebastopol Arts Center for the Arts, but it's probably not for anybody else. So it depends on how the Public Art Committee wants to announce and let the artists know, and we can just, you know, make sure we get the required form to them as part.
Okay. How would we like to do this?
Excuse me, but were you thinking of more of a ceremony or some way of acknowledge them publicly?
That's what the question is.
Mhm.
So do you have an idea or preference, anybody?
Well, my experience with stipends is that it's not necessarily, unless it were to be happening during the opening ceremony or something. But after the fact, I think and I think a W-9, isn't that because the money's taxable? The stipend is taxable?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great thing that we're doing this, and I always think that artists should be paid for whatever they do. I'm just not sure that a standalone ceremony is feasible, actually. But to certainly announce it in the city's newsletter and the Sebastopol Times and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Just announcing that it happened, that this indeed was part of the public art intention was that the artists be paid, and here they have been. More of an announcement than an actual.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
more importantly, how do you want to let the artists know and the symphony chamber know? Is there someone from the PAC who would want to write a letter, or a letter seems a little bit nicer than just an email saying, hey, guess what? But however you want to let the artists know, I think is almost more important than, what that message you're trying to send.
Yeah, I think a letter from us and the mayor and the city council, just thanking them and acknowledging, how successful it's been. And then they can do, like the symphony may want to post it in their own newsletter. Who knows what happens next? They feel free. We might even mention, feel free to let others know that this honor has been recognized.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think the opening itself gave enough notoriety and promotion and recognition to the artists, at least the ones who showed up. I'm sure a lot of them are pretty busy anyway. And, the city council agenda is pretty busy as well, as is ours, right? So I think, a very tasteful letter on city stationery, certificate like maybe, or at least the wording would be enough and appropriate.
Okay, so it was an open question. Ceremony was not necessarily part of it. It seems that writing a letter or creating a certificate with the PAC, mayor, city council, and also at some point we do need to contact the information from them so they can get their funds. Is there someone who would be interested in doing that letter?
I was going to nominate you, Margie, as the chair, and I would be available to, look at your draft and help with any revisions and editing that may be needed, although you do such a great job with that stuff initially.
Okay, thank you. Anybody?
I think it
Put
can be really simple to me. I don't think a certificate is necessary. I mean, I've gotten, certificates of appreciation from city council. Where do they go? Like in the pile, pretty much, or whatever. Like just a letter thanking them. Here's your check. Bravo.
Yeah, and I like the idea of perhaps having it be signed by the chair of the PAC as well as the mayor.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think that would be really nice.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm willing to do it and do it with Jeff if unless someone else is interested. Okay. So, huh?
And I'm thinking that this could be the formality that continues. This is the precedent
Mhm.
being set. So now we know how to do it.
Right.
Okay. Do we need a motion for this or should we just agree? Carrie, do we need a motion or?
I don't think you need a formal motion. I think that
Okay.
is.
Great.
Just giving.
So be it, eh? Okay, so Jeff and I will be in touch on this and try to get it out as soon as possible. And in terms of them getting their funds, Oh, that's it.
So the process I would suggest, since the intent is to have it on city letterhead,
Yes.
is for Margie, you and Jeff to work out the language
Mhm,
and then send it to me.
mhm,
I will format into city letterhead, or we'll have some of my staff format into city letterhead, and then we'll coordinate signatures from you and the mayor.
mhm. And how do you suggest, or anybody suggest we coordinate that with getting the information we need from the artists and the chamber
Oh,
group?
when we send out the letters, we can send out the information about how to, you know,
Okay.
the how to of, in order for us to do the stipend, we need you to fill out this form and
Could
return
you
to.
Send that information to me and Jeff, specifically what we need to ask them for.
I will, I actually think that'd be nicer to not do in the letter in
Okay,
case they
I
want
thought
to
you were
keep the
saying-
letter and just have it be a kind of an addendum instructions thing.
Addendum instructions.
But yeah, I'll just have it be a next, so if the letter is one page, not put the details about the W-9 and stuff in there, I can include that as the next page with the form. That way, if they want to keep the letter, it doesn't have this weird, it's just a
Yeah.
thank you for, and this has been great.
That's
Good. Excellent. Okay, any other questions or comments on this before we go on?
I have a comment just to say that I realize this is the first time we're going through this process of providing stipends to these artists, but it is October now and the opening was in July. So hopefully this will pave the way for in the future for giving stipends to artists. That'll happen a little more streamlined and maybe they'll get their stipends a little bit sooner than this time around.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Future Art Commission. Third Art Gateway. You received this, yes, everybody got a copy of this, which is a list of, and the lines are, so we can put in dates to doing these things, proceed sequence for the commission, because I know some people have not done this with the pack. You may have done it with a different group, but so
I have a question about
yeah.
that, Margie.
Yes, sir.
So this form
Mhm.
has been used in the past.
It's a compilation from what has been used in the past, yes.
Okay.
So the first thing is to discuss the site, and then to, if we have one that we really prefer to focus on at this time for the third one, we need to, this time, make sure about requirements for permits. As we're going into our 6th year with NIDS. So, and then finalize that and finalize the site decision. So discussion on site. Lars, it was great. So you asked Carrie and Carrie, I want to recognize and thank you for all this wonderful work you do for us. Immediately found and sent 2 previous minutes.
Yeah.
So
So in one of those, there was a comment, I think from you, Carrie, that there was some park land we were looking at, right? Like the Joe Dota Trail area that there was a question to the county parks if we could coordinate there or something.
And
right?
I have talked with both their park planners set, as well as the deputy director there, and they're both open to that, absolutely. Let's see, I actually had a meeting with them. I think it was last couple weeks ago about the Calder Creek project, but I also snuck in and talked to them about the potential art stuff. And so I think the main one we were looking at was up on the north side of town in terms of having something on the north side, and the fact that the only really public land up there was the regional parks. So the West County Trail comes out here. And so that is something where, yes, they would be open to having something on that. What the artwork is would determine the process for it. They have a parks board that would need to approve it, but I think that's I can find out more about it if this is the selected site. It's fairly easy to work with them in terms of something that is licensed. If similar to the public art, the Sebastopol Center for the Public Arts, it would, required a few months to deal with getting a license for it and whatnot. But I believe the insurance the city requires from the artist for a formal commission would also meet the requirements that the county has for that, having worked with the county before. So
Just, excuse me,
they're
for geographically disabled people. That's the lower part is where the downtown area is, and you're coming up 116 from there.
yeah. So this is
Yeah.
this building. This is the O'Reilly office complex, just
Okay.
north of and across from the Redmond Marketplace. And so this is where the Joe Rodota Trail the
Yes.
West County Trail
Got
at
it.
this point comes out right by the charter school.
Thanks so much.
And
Okay.
where
And
the,
this is our city limit right here, which is
Ah.
the north side, that pink line right there.
Oh,
So it's
Right.
literally
I
marks
feel that.
the
Okay.
start of town. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
right.
there on the south side, it's the community church right here. But that's less visible. That's where the can recycling use is less visible coming into town right here because there's a big line of trees right there that you don't really see it until you get to that corner.
Mhm.
And what about
Yeah.
right in the city limit?
That's on,
Well, this
that's
is-
on private property.
No,
This would be-
going up there. Now, so you have
Okay,
the
so that
limit.
would be on O'Reilly land, and we could probably talk to them about that. It is on private
Private,
property.
Okay.
However, it's obviously a public display, so that would get into a public-private agreement. It would be up to them.
Got it. And on the
I
other
don't
side,
think they would be opposed, just having, O'Reilly has supported series and other nonprofits in the past. I know that would include that. The
Yeah.
other possibility is there's a small piece of land right here. It is privately owned by this person. So we would have to approach that person, and if it's it's an odd thing because this is actually a driveway that's maintained by the charter school,
Yeah,
and they probably have an easement over this part of it. If the city can buy this small piece of land for the artwork or have it quit claim, because it's probably a pain in the ass for this person to maintain more than anything, that may be something we could look into.
and just above that, is there county property just above that?
This is county land.
No, with the little blue thing that you said was private. There, maybe like that. What is that? Is that county? Or is that more private?
Hold on, let me go to that. I'm using a different map because I'm logged in so I can see the property.
But didn't O'Reilly just sell a bunch of their property and there's going to be housing? Because Ceres had to move their garden from the back of.
So, right, so O'Reilly is maintaining or it's separate ownership for the O'Reilly property, and nothing is slated to happen with that. That's that blue bound area. This area, you can see the Ceres garden there, and this parcel, we do have a developer looking to submit a proposal for housing on those two vacant lots. So but that only comes up to, that's sort of along the trail, and they have easements through the O'Reilly lot to come out. And it looks like this triangle that you're identifying here is, it looks like actually this is now owned by the charter school. And then this small, this triangle here
Mhm.
is owned by these people.
Mhm.
This portion right here, right by the crosswalk, is owned by the charter school.
Mhm.
And then there's a small piece of this corner right adjacent to the city boundary on the south side of that driveway. And it looks like that is county land because it is mapped. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's county land there.
Okay, so that's more stable. It's a
Yeah, I think,
definition.
because I walked, I think that one little part that you just mentioned, that's part county, has a lot of water viaduct stuff going on there because of the runoff from, I think, way up on Mill Station
Yeah,
Road.
I can tell you this area here and this area are bioretention areas for the O'Reilly property. There is you're right, there is a conduit, stormwater conduit that goes underneath Highway 116. And then because of the topography sloping down along Mill Station, there's just basically a ditch here where on the county side, because the county isn't connected to the stormwater system, while the city is, the water topography runs towards west towards and out this way, and then it's just in a ditch.
And what about that little triangle that you said was the county? Looks like a little bit there.
So
Right
this is the
below
charter
that,
school.
below
This
that.
is their driveway.
That one. where
Yeah,
you-
that is. So
Is
that
that
area
water?
is.
Is
It's
that
within
water?
the public right of way. So I don't know whether that's Caltrans or county is the question.
Ah,
And that's what I would want and need to ask.
let's avoid Caltrans if we can.
And
Yeah,
Caltrans.
if it's the county, it's probably not such a big deal.
Mhm.
It would need to go through real estate, but like I said, and what that would be, it would, with the commissioned art piece, it would be a larger process than it was for the sculpture garden. The sculpture garden was, they had and I can find out what it is. There was a value limit that we were under for the sculpture garden, where it could just be a staff level, director level agreement. If it goes beyond a certain threshold, then they need to get other folks involved and it becomes more complex.
I have a question. In order at least for me, to think about the whole topic of public art, particularly at the entrances to Sebastopol, I'm wondering, is there a document that exists that shows all of the city-owned land and or non-city-owned land? I'm not talking private land, but that would be important to include too, that we can use to reference. Carrie, Lars, do you know of anything like that?
The easiest way, and I can kind of pull it up right now, is to use our zoning map, which I can send out. Anything in thanks, Lars. Anything in this blue color or green color is either city or school district land. The green is parkland, so those are city-owned parks. The blue does include schools, and like here it includes the cemetery. It's community facilities, so it's going to be the schools and any public facility like the plaza, the city-owned parking lots, that kind of stuff.
Because this is just me, but I would propose actually creating an inventory like document that shows city and public land along not only the major thoroughfares within the city, but also major pedestrian ways within the city, because that's what we're really considering.
Mhm.
And then that's why I'd ask Steve Weinberger about the traffic counts, because I think that also comes into play, in terms of the number of vehicle trips into and out of the city, in terms of, which entrances get more visits, in terms of promotion anyway, and people actually seeing this commission piece.
That's
Mhm.
great. Thank you, Jeff. That's a wonderful idea.
Carrie, when you sent this map out on September 7th with all these You guys can't see this, I'm sure, but isn't that what that is? It's the one that I can hardly see what the little ovals mean, but I thought that was, or maybe those are just the sites that we had already talked about before, even before my time. But you did send out send a map out to us, and
That
I
was
believe
the traffic map.
Yes, it
that,
doesn't
yeah,
show
let me pull that up.
what is city and what is public.
Is
Yeah.
that this?
Great map, though.
yeah, that's that.
Okay, yeah.
So what is that referring to?
So these are vehicle counts at these various points on a daily basis.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What is that? Say that again, please.
Sorry, so these are
Oh.
traffic counts
Oh, I get it. Okay.
at those locations.
I have the list of them. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Meaning vehicular traffic, not pedestrian.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so without going through great expense to have W-Trans map pedestrian counts, I believe I asked Steve Weinberger and he had responded. I believe I sent that on to the Public Art Committee in terms
Yes.
of where, yeah, okay.
So,
So, you know, we could do something that's a little bit more expensive. It would take a little bit of time, but I do have a planning technician who could potentially do, you know, if you're not comfortable using the proxy of the blue land use map and these counts, and what Steve gave you, it would be a little bit more of a project for us to do. We could do that. It would take a little bit of time to do, however.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to actually propose, you know, for discussion, creating a document, you know, I mean, keep it simple, but I think that the zoning map would be a great starter. And maybe if it's kosher to work in like teams of 2 and, you know, walk a stretch and jot down our notes,
Mhm.
simple to create a working document that we can use into the future to have intelligent discussions about where to cite public art.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. Carrie, can that zoning map be, can you only show the, you know, the community facility zones and take everything off, all the other colors off?
I believe, let's see.
I mean, I have it as,
believe
I
we
know it's a
can.
PDF,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, that would be a
I
place to
believe
start.
we can by going in and customizing labels and doing a little work. So I think we can probably do that.
Okay. I mean, I think if we have that and the parklands and, you know, then just all the streets, like that would be a great
Right.
starting point for that. Jeff's asking.
so, you know, this is a great idea. And for today, let's say, if we could get this together by next meeting, but for today, can we just kind of, I think we're doing also really well, kind of ruminating on likely spots. And my question was on the one that we were just looking at the trail head, we did talk about entrances to the city and having it on the, coming from town, on the right-hand side is an exit. If you're coming into town, no, if you're coming in, no, I'm sorry, you're right. It
Exit.
would be on the entrance. I delete, never mind. Okay, so can we, and this is the north gate, right? That we were just talking about?
Right.
So are there other options for the north gate? Do people want to focus on that or take a look at possible south gates for now, today?
I would just say, as far as the north, for me personally, I have to be down on my feet, you know, I'd actually see these things. Aerial views are not going to cut it for me. So I would have to actually be in a car or be on my feet to see
Yeah,
what
but
these
this
things look like.
kind of discussion can help you once you're on the ground to weed
yeah,
out what wouldn't work and to focus on what's likely.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just as
The
far as
other,
next steps.
the other site we talked about was at Covert Lane. I think we talked that sort of median of Covert Lane was another sort of more northerly site.
That was, you mean near on the way to Regal Park?
Yeah, correct. Like right as you make that turn,
Uh,
somewhere along that median.
Mhm.
And
yeah, it's a lot of activity there.
As far as the south side goes, I had brought up Spooner Park before, and I continued reflecting on that, and I wrote up a list of positives and constraints for that site. And I think I need to make an overall comment. Sebastopol, Sebastopol is a small town. There doesn't appear to be a lot of public land that's available, and what is small and has, it has its limitations, whether it's signage or trees or buildings or narrow like corridors. So in my mind, we really have our work cut out for us to find the most functional places. And for me, Spooner Park, even though it has constraints, of course, is a larger spot.
Mm.
And of course, the biggest constraint that comes up is the Solar Dragon, which in my mind is an industrial piece of art. It is not really an aesthetic piece of art. And if it was within my power and budget to somehow relocate that so it still would be functional and appreciated by those people who feel that way, I would do that, because then it's a matter of doing something with the signage and perhaps one of those trees to kind of clear up a space on that point that's pretty visible, particularly when you come into town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. I think that it's not the Solar Dragon that's the problem. It's the signs. That's that's right. That's what you see when you first come in, and it's just a hodgepodge of small scale signage that's not that easy to read even. Like if that went away or went somewhere else, that could be a prime spot right there.
Well, there is
sure. And I will bring up one other possibility for the south side, knowing that it is not necessarily a formal commissioned art necessarily, but at the art sculpture garden opening, I did talk to our former pack member Jen Verts, who is interested in working the Art and Soul art supply shop on the south side of town, is interested in doing some mural on their building. And I think, it's on private property, but it is that split right at that same place on your way into town. As Marky noted, what's coming into town as the entry. There, you could do something like that. We have similar to like the what's being placed on the Goodwill building, where that kind of marks the entry to downtown. This could suffice to do that. The cost of moving the Solar Dragons and redoing the signs and in terms of staff time and or budget for moving a solar array, those are all possibilities, but they're pretty complicated.
Is the signage really complicated? I mean, yes, the Solar Dragon is, of course.
I think it's a political discussion that needs to happen.
Right, that's the problem.
And setting a sign policy, and then what happens with this? Where does it go? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's a time suck more than anything, I think.
Yeah.
Time-wise, if we made the south gate sculpture, the one after this, made it the fourth one, that would give us time to look at that. There was another site which was at the entrance to the trail, at the trailhead, which is on the right there. And
Margie, I think Barbara had I don't know if she had a question or comment on this site before we move on.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just realize, please, that if we were to take on a mural on a private building, that we have no control over what happens to it. It could be removed, painted over, all this expense, all that stuff could be completely obliterated because it's not public property.
I would second that. And I was about to say, another thing is that to engage with a private business as a city-funded art is a little edgy for me. So I would say those two elements, I would second what Barbara said, and in terms of connecting, focusing, using a business is
Yeah.
another element.
It's a great site, but I think that what should be high on the list of considerations is how permanent it would be.
Yes, I agree.
However, we could still encourage the property owners to move in that direction, maybe
Oh,
without city expenditures, even though we couldn't control it into the future.
This is
Right, and I
just
believe I
before
did,
the grant. Excuse
yeah,
me.
and it was a little, yeah, I have talked with Jen about applying for a facade improvement grant for a portion of the funding for this. And of course, they could always ask if they agree to maintain it for 10 or 15 years. So until you get the commission stuff figured out on the south side of town, is the Public Art Committee willing to fund a portion of it if they so choose?
I think that Goodwill mural is removable, isn't it? It's separate from it's not painted upon the building. It's actually panels that are removable, and that's an alternative for this building, the Art and Soul building. Is that we could own those panels, and if anything were to happen, we could literally take them off and move them somewhere else.
But we'd have to find another site. And we'd
Well,
still
yeah,
be-
we would, but I mean, if that's a beautiful site right there. I mean, gosh, it's like welcome to Sebastopol. So that's just an alternative, is that we could have an agreement, and then if the building's ever sold, we have the right to move them or whatever. And that's just, it's just
Barbara, that's similar to the agreements that we have or will have with the Hotel Sebastopol and others who have their public art on site.
oh, good. Okay.
It's the same thing. If something happens, the city actually owns the art,
Oh, good. Okay.
but they have an agreement and a requirement they maintain it.
Well, that's maybe what we can do here.
Well, we still have to, I think it's important to consider the relationship between the city's Public Arts Committee and businesses, and whether we want to, it's in a way, I think it's a great business and I support them, but whether the city is going to, in a way, that's advertising for them. And it's
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on what the content is. It's just such a great location. Thousands of people pass by there every day, and it is literally an entree to the city. I mean, we would still be controlling what's chosen to go on there.
So can that be one of if we leave the south for the fourth one, that could be one of the considerations, and maybe we can also look at the trailhead and we'd have three possibles to go back to.
Yeah.
Can we just mention that, take a look at the trailhead and then go back to the north? How's that?
Sure. Yep. I will. And I know this isn't quite the same, Jeff, as being on the hopefully helpful.
Oh yeah, it's by the feed store.
Oh,
Yes.
no, the trailhead of the hiking path.
Yeah, isn't that right past the feed store?
It's across from the Hot Monk.
Right. Yes. That's
Yes, I didn't go up far enough. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the one that Jeff had taken pictures of. This is the trailhead right there. And then this is looking towards downtown.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't there a piece of public art right across the street with those yeah, for a while there?
Yeah. No, so can you back up? So we're actually at the trailhead to the hiking path.
Yes, I think I have to turn around and do that.
And heading into town, heading into town. There you go.
Okay, so this
And we
whole
talked about that bench
area,
area, which is city,
correct.
I believe,
Yep.
city property or it's county.
It
Yeah.
is
That is
county
also
regional
prominent.
park. So again, I had talked with them about this area as a potential art location, and they had said, yeah, there's, there'll be some sort of review by the regional parks oversight or advisory committee, but they definitely encourage integration of art, and happy to work with us. And, just so you all know, I have been working closely with regional park for a number of years. And they've been very helpful as I understand what some of the county context is. But we have with the Measure M passage, we have almost monthly meetings with county parks at the director level. And yeah, I've gotten to know those folks really well in terms of working with them. And so it's a pretty seamless relationship.
Oh, good.
I'd say unlike Caltrans.
But Caltrans would still have to review this.
I don't,
No.
if it's on regional park, they would not have any permitting authority. It would be the park.
But some of
They
the
may
stuff we had to deal with Ned on the bridge, right? This is vehicles going by. If it's something highly reflective and distracting to the drivers, I would think they would want to.
Yeah, I think we would still want to make sure that it's safe for traffic. So that would be, but that's part of the site criteria, right? I can ask engineering if this is something that would need to go by them. Normally we do route applications when it includes a new encroachment, like a new driveway or something that is along their site, like the Barlow Townhomes, that was an expansion of it. So that went through. They took a look at that. If it's a piece of art off of their right of way, I don't know if they would need to review it or not.
Isn't that also true for anything along that road? So for anything we would look at, they could say, oh, it's too distracting.
Yeah, they either have a say or they don't. And I don't know. I know on Highway 12, obviously they did because they own, 50 feet on each side of that right of way. So it wasn't, and that's why we moved the sculpture to the city, kind of where the trail is going.
They don't have 50 feet right away on 116, you're saying?
No, they do not. Yeah, it's sort of back on sidewalk areas where it ends, and then it becomes private property.
Okay.
So very different.
Yeah, okay, good.
I would like to just say that this spot is also very prominent in terms of walking. It's vehicle and walking. And it's a prominent location. It's something that could certainly use some beautifying and is really closely connected to the town. So personally, this would be my first choice, and especially if we can't do Spooner.
Did you have a comment, Barbara?
Barbara?
Thank you for that, Margie, because I was thinking the same thing, especially when you look at it this way. It's really ugly, and anything, it'd be, once you're on this road, you're pretty well headed, excuse me, into town. Very few tourists are going to take a left anywhere. And it would be a real nice entry. You're already approaching town, you're already kind of anticipating, and then having something beautiful to as the landmark. I think would be a great idea. And it just seems to scream, do something with me, because it's just so unpleasant looking, and that, could disguise that fence, take away from it anyway, the focal point. Yeah, I agree. I think this would be a good choice.
There's another point I wanted to make about this site related to the project at Ives Park and the creek. So I don't know, I call it creek, that whole restoration has like a later phase, doesn't it, of in studying or trying to bring it even all the way over here, kind of.
Yeah, do you want me to bring up that diagram, Lars? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll stop my screen share so I don't make any decisions.
But there's a planning document that I was part of that was trying to envision a greenway between Ives Park and the trail. And we have city property there with that parking lot, the Hopmonk parking lot, and that other park, the Chamber parking lot, where the Chamber of Commerce is there, the museum is there, like connecting that all the way through is a wonderful vision. And now the Creek project might actually help move, kind of bring some of that into being, or start to. And then we just learned that the property with the El Favorito Taqueria is for sale, or gonna be for sale. And it's like, oh,
It is
wow,
for
that's
sale.
Oh, is that
opportunity.
the gas station place right there by the gas station in there? But
Where the
Hmm.
that's the standalone kind of taqueria, and that be next to the post office.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a great idea to include all of that. Wow. That sounds really
Visionary.
Mhm.
So I just want to say, I was suggesting that we leave the South for the 4th, but if there was agreement from everybody that about this trailhead spot, and I know, Jeff, you want Spooner, so maybe we should wait, but that could be the 3rd.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to make a few comments. I feel like there's another step missing on the PAC commissioned public artwork sequence.
Mhm.
So the first one is PAC discusses the site. That actually, in my mind, is a lot more involved than just that one thing. For me, I mean, what are the pros and cons of these sites? I mean, we're talking about them out loud, but we're not really recording them. I just feel like those are important considerations when we're looking at these different sites, so we don't lose sight. That was a pun, but we don't lose sight of what maybe a site that has more pros to it than another one. So we can look at